This episode goes out to every single teacher in the world. You deserve $200 an hour and a personal massage at the end of every day. We have no choice but to stan. Hi there, Garrett Robinson here. Welcome to the 23rd episode of the Nightblade Epic Podcast Season 2. Hey, we haven't done an audiobook update in a while. There are a ton of new Underrealm audiobooks for you to enjoy and listen to, and what better thing to have on in the background when you're stuck at home? Unfortunately, most of these are only available on iTunes and other audiobook stores besides Audible. Audible is having major problems, and even more so since the pandemic. But if you do get audiobooks on iTunes, you can listen to books like Shadeborn and The Fire Mage's Vengeance, and probably by the time this episode publishes, Stoneheart. It's always worth checking iTunes and other audiobook stores to see the latest Underrealm audiobooks that have released. Just search your favorite audiobook store for the word Underrealm. And don't worry, Audible listeners, they'll get their act together one day. Okay, now it's time for today's episode. Today, you're getting Chapter 29 of Mystic. When we left off, Jem had set off on his own to find Annis, while Lauren and Jordell were about to do the same together. Enjoy! Mystic, Chapter 29. When Lauren returned to the table, she found Jordell had already devised a plan of action. Together, he and Lauren would search the city for Annis and Zane. Jordell seemed to have many contacts in Wellmont, and he felt confident he could uncover the wizard without too much trouble. "After all, I had already planned to comb the city for the two of you when I first arrived," he said. "Now the search will be narrower." "Very well," said Lauren. "When do you mean to start?" "Now," said Jordell. "No time is too early, for if Zane escapes the city, we may lose him entirely. Our only hope is to find him before he refines a plan of escape." "Let us be off, then," said Vivian. "You misunderstand me," said Jordell, looking at her coldly. "I mean to take Lauren with me, while you return to the constable's station and coordinate their search." Vivian stiffened, her gaze dropping to her hands, which lay clenched on the table. "Have I displeased you, my captain?" "You have only made me displeased with myself. I should have known the lengths to which you would go to protect this city. It was not the mayor who threatened to hang the men at the north gate if they opened it, Vivian." Her eyes grew hooded, but she did not respond. "By your counsel alone did Zane fight upon the wall, and because of that, we lost him. Were it not for you, we would be riding hard for the north, in retreat to Feldamar, where we could plan our next step. Now, all our plans may come to ruin." "I did not mean for this to happen, Captain. Allow me to rectify my mistake." "I shall," said Jordell, "but from the constable's station, and not at my side. Use all your wit and cunning in aid of the search, and I shall forgive you. But if I should find that you take any further steps to keep the wizard from me—" He slammed his hand on the table. A terrible wrath flashed in his eyes, and then it was gone, and he was only Jordell again. "I understand," whispered Vivian. "I will not betray your faith again, my captain." "I believe you. Now come, Lauren. Wellmont is a wide city with many nooks and crannies in which our friend the wizard might be hiding." Together they left the inn and set upon the streets. Nearly everyone had gone home, with only a few scattered passers-by to give them curious looks. Jordell cut an impressive figure in his crimson cloak, and Lauren felt small beside him in hers of midnight black. "I may have made an error when I placed my faith in that one," said Jordell heavily. "If any great harm comes from it, I will not forgive myself." "Vivian, you mean?" said Lauren. "She seems strange." It is as though she is a walking secret, with another mind behind whatever face she chooses to show you. And never is such a mind more dangerous. I can admire her single-mindedness and her resourcefulness in pursuit of her goals, but her actions sit ill in my stomach. I wonder what it may portend for us, and especially for the Yeren girl." He stopped suddenly and turned to Lauren, placing a hand on her shoulder and making her face him. "Above all, I wonder what it might mean for you." He glanced over his shoulder and leaned in to a murmur. "I have warned you already not to reveal the dagger, not to anyone but me or your friends. You must be doubly sure not to let Vivian see any trace of it. That would spell not only your own doom, but the death of your friends, even me, though I doubt you hold me as such." Lauren felt a thrill of fear at his words. "Why her?" she said. "What is it you fear?" "It is not her, but those I suspect she is in thrall to. I have told you some within my order would wish your death simply for holding the dagger. Unless I miss my guess by a wide margin, Vivian would report you directly to them in exchange for their favor. It seems to be within her character." "I will remember," said Lauren, "and I would not so hastily excuse yourself from the company of my friends." Jordell cocked his head, and for the first time since they had met in Wellmont, his eyes softened and his mouth twisted in a smile. Then he turned with a whirl of his cloak, and Lauren followed him towards the docks with her hand on the dagger's hilt. "Often have I visited Wellmont, and its captains are well known to me. With Vivian's command, Zane will not leave the city by any gate, not at least without blasting it open, and then we shall hear of it quickly. He may think he can escape by the river, though, and so there we will begin our search. Scant hours remain until dawn, and the captains will be awake." Lauren thought of the way they had passed beneath the river gate, but she dismissed it. Zane would not have Bubbles' skill at crafting a bowl of air. He would go by boat or not at all. "One thing has troubled me," said Lauren. "What do you mean to do with Zane once we find him?" "I will not kill him, if that is what you mean," said Jordell. "He has done nothing to earn such a punishment, and his powers are too valuable besides." "That is not what I mean. His powers are exactly the problem. I gather you mean to subdue him, but how? He is a wizard after all. Though I am glad for her absence, would it not be wiser to hunt Zane with Vivian by our side? She at least might stand a chance against him." "Anyone is vulnerable when surprised, and a wizard may be knocked senseless like any other. But you strike upon an important truth. When first I joined the Mystics, I was one of the mage hunters. They are a special force, well-trained and with a single purpose, to subdue wizards who threaten the 9 lands, either through magic or lust for power." "Are such services often required?" said Lauren, surprised. "Wizards are few and far enough between, it seems. How often do they pose a danger?" "Not often, and yet when they do, it is awful indeed. Hence we must be ever at the ready, for only in watchfulness lies safety. Those are the words of our order, though many have forgotten them." His eyes looked troubled. "But as I say, I spent my early years in that company, and one of the first things we learn is how to subdue the 4 types of wizardry. You know the branches, yes?" "I have heard," said Lauren carefully. "I know of fire mages and mind mages, and were mages," she added, thinking of Auntie. "You have forgotten alchemy, though of course any wizard would shake their head and grouse at our use of such common terms. Among the learned they are called elementalism, mentalism, therianthropy, and transmutation. But no matter. Each type of magic relies upon a certain something, and each type of wizard may be cut from the source of their power. You have seen Zane cast his spells?" "I have," said Lauren. "What does he do?" said Jordell, his eyes careful upon her. Lauren felt it was a test, and she was determined to pass. "He speaks words, and his eyes glow white. Then he moves his hands, and his fingers twist in just such a way." She tried to imitate one of Zane's signs, but it was hard to remember. His fingers were always so quick. That is close to the symbol for wind. But yes, his words are the true source. Thus, an elementalist, a fire mage you would call them, who is gagged is rendered powerless, at least until the gag is removed. You mean all you would need to do would be to tie a cloth in Zane's mouth, and he would be just like any other man? Said Lauren, astounded. Just so. On the other hand, mind mages must envision their magic, and so a blindfold will do the trick. They cannot see the thing they wish to move or strike. Alchemists must touch the things they change, and so you may use gloves of silk to subdue them. Only the most powerful alchemists can shift silk, and when they do, the glow in their eyes gives you enough warning to stop them. Were-mages are the most difficult. They can become whatever they imagine, within the limits of their power, and so it is their thoughts you must constrain. Keeping them unconscious will do it, as will some herbs that muddy the mind. But were-mages seem the least dangerous. They cannot unleash bolts of flame or throw a man through the air. That, at least, is a blessing. Jordel's eyes drifted far away. They are not always, he said quietly. I know one more fearsome than Zane even at his mightiest, but that is a story for another time. Suffice it to say that each type of wizard bears their own danger, and none must be trifled with lightly. Nor do I wish to, said Lauren. Once Annis is rescued, I will be quite content if I never deal with a wizard again. I do not think that is your fate, said Jordel. But come, we approach the docks, and have much to do. The docks of Wellmont were no more than half full. Any captain able to leave had done so when word first came of the Dortian attack, and no more had come since the river blockade went up. Jordel studied the boats, their lashings creaking as they strained in the current. He saw one he must have known, for he approached it quickly. A thin rat of a man looked up as Jordel's boots landed on his deck, and he rose to shake the mystic's wrist. Jordel, said the captain. Well met, though I would it were in happier times. And I as well. I have a favor to ask. He described Zane and Annis and told the captain to keep a watch for them. The man swore his oath. Then Jordel pulled forth a gold weight and placed it in the man's palm. The captain tried to refuse, but Jordel waved him off and left the boat, rejoining Lauren on the dock. He gave me passage down the Dragon's Tail towards Wavemount once, said Jordel, and on the journey I saved his life from brigands who tried to rob him. His life? Surely that debt cannot be repaid. Why then did you need to bribe him to keep a lookout? It was not a bribe, said Jordel solemnly. It was a gift, one friend to another. My order has no shortage of wealth. If I may bestow it upon those who rarely have an extra coin to their name, it will do my masters no harm, and will earn that much more loyalty besides. At the next boat, Jordel told Lauren he had served as the captain's first mate for 2 months while hunting a rogue wizard. At the next, Jordel recounted how he had met the captain, a woman, as they drank together in a tavern on the docks of Redbrook. Jordel grew somewhat red in the face and spoke curtly of her, offering no further explanation. "Do you know every riverboat captain in all the 9 lands?" said Lauren. "Not quite, but enough to serve my purpose. In Selvin especially, riverboats are the lifelines of the kingdom. Rarely does word travel more swiftly than the water will carry it, and those who steer these craft have seen more of the world than most who dwell here in Wellmont. It pays to know such folk. Indeed, the more people one knows, the more one can learn about any land one might wish to travel in." "I feel as though you were giving me a lesson," said Lauren. "And you should take it to heart. If you would travel from kingdom to kingdom, do favors wherever you may. One never knows when such friendship might be repaid, and the rewards may be great." Lauren thought of the sellsword she had met in the bar that afternoon. "I made 2 friends today," she said quickly. "Sellswords who fought on the southern wall when the Dortians struck." "That is good," said Jordel, and he gave a nod of approval. "Mercenaries, too, often roam far and gather much knowledge. though they are more prone to die than a riverboat captain. They kept on their way down the docks, and Lauren saw that Jordell would stop even at boats where he did not know the captain, but she saw still more vessels that gave him no pause, and when she looked closer, they appeared to be empty. "What of these ones?" she said, pointing. "Zane could be hiding in any one of these empty boats, holding Annis captive." "He might," said Jordell, looking troubled. "But we cannot simply step aboard and search any boat we please, at least not yet." "If it is time you need, I could start. You hardly need my assistance to speak with these fishermen." "I would not do that," said Jordell quickly. "Not unless we can find them no other way. This is a river city. To many who live here, their boats are more precious than their lives. It is not meet for the law, whether it be the mystics or constables, to step aboard their vessels without permission or cause." "Do you think that Zane will hold to the same rule?" said Lauren, growing angry. "He could be sitting on the other side of that door, laughing as he hears you speak of propriety." "If he is, we will find him. No doubt Vivian has already sent word to the mayor requesting his help. Word will find every captain, and the constables and my men will search the boats stem to stern, but it will be properly done, and will spark no ire." Lauren growled in frustration. "But what if they hide there now? You have spoken to nearly every captain in the city, and Vivian has sent us no word that your men have found him elsewhere. It seems we have scant few places to search, other than the empty boats." "And there you should have searched from the beginning," said a voice. Jem slid out of the shadows of a nearby building. His nose was as red as when Lauren had last seen him, and his speech still sounded thick, but his jaw was set, and his eyes burned with determination. "I have found your wizard mystic and his captive. Come and take him before I decide to kill him myself." This has been a production of Legacy Books, written and narrated by Garrett Robinson. The music in this podcast was created by Will Musser. Check out his incredible work at willmusser.com. That's WILLMUSSER.com. Today's letter is S. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.